Hello, I'm Mr. Polk and welcome to my kitchen. Today what I'd like to do is show you how to make an elevated French toast, a strawberry stuffed French toast that has sauteed bananas as a topping, caramelized bananas. And I started in my saute pan here with 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter, and I'm going to put about 3 tablespoons of brown sugar in there. And I'm just going to stir it in. And I'm on low heat. I don't want to get anything too hot here. And as you stir it together, you're going to notice that it's going to start to clump at first, but then as it bubbles, it'll start to turn into a sauce. Okay, so we're going to do that. I'm going to get the heat just a touch to get that going. And then I'm also going to put in about a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. And just bring all that together. And as you can see, right now it looks like separated. But it's going to come together, and then once it comes together, we're going to add orange juice to it. Now, if you were making this as a glaze for something, you could even add some heavy cream to thin it out. But for this, we want to use the orange juice. And then, if we feel that it starts to thicken, then we could add some more water. So as you see here, you can see that the brown sugar is starting to melt out into the butter, and it's starting to bubble up a little bit. As soon as it bubbles up just a touch more, then we're going to add the orange juice. That gives it the citrus flavor. Okay, so you see how that's starting to bubble up for us? And we don't want it to bubble up too much, but when it bubbles together, it starts to get nice and smooth. Then we're going to put the orange juice in. And we're just going to stir that in like that. And that's really what's going to bring it together now. You see it? Now with the orange juice, I really have more of a sauce going on there, you see? And I have it on the low heat. And what I'm going to do is I took 3 bananas and I sliced them just kind of 1/4 slices on the bias. And all I want to do is put them in here long enough to start to cook them a little bit. I don't want them to turn all mushy, okay? I just want to soften the edges and let this syrup thicken a little bit. And I'm going to keep an eye on it. If I feel that the syrup starts to get a little too thick, then what I'll do is I'll add some water. So right now I got these guys on low, and I'm just going to kind of let them cook a little bit while I work on the French toast. So now let's take a look at our French toast. And what I'm going to do is, with French toast, I like to, obviously this is something if you're doing it at home, you can use anything you want. But what I like to use when I can is I like to get a nice fresh loaf of French or Italian bread. And then we're going to mix up the strawberry filling. Now, you've seen enough time with me with baking. I didn't need to show you the mixer of this. But this is just 8 ounces of cream cheese, 8 ounces of sliced strawberries, a quarter cup of powdered sugar, and about a teaspoon of vanilla. And it just makes this nice little filling. And mine's a little thin because it's been sitting out here a little bit. But you just want to put it on there and make just a nice little sandwich. And then put the top on. And I already have 2 here. And you can use different types of fillings, different fruits, but it just really elevates the dish. Okay, I'm just going to turn these bananas a little bit. Keep an eye on them. Again, I don't want them to turn to mush. I just want them to kind of, the edges start to soften. As you see on a lot of these, some of them, they're starting to soften up a little bit. The nanner there coming together. And I'm keeping an eye on the syrup, all right? I want it to get just a touch thicker, but if it starts to get too thick, then what I'm going to have to do is add a little bit of water. Now, I'm going to use a griddle today because it's a little easier. You can spray it, or I'm just going to put some of my clarified butter down. And then we have to also have the mix. And I already pre-made my mix here, but you always got to keep redoing it because everything wants to settle out and you get one piece of toast with all the seasoning and one with not. When you do this, try to follow, I have the recipe, but I follow that ratio of 2 eggs for every cup of milk. And then I've got maybe a teaspoon of cinnamon there, about an 1/8 teaspoon of nutmeg, about a 1/4 cup of white granulated sugar, teaspoon of vanilla. And then what I put in there also that a lot of people might not think about is I do a 1/4 teaspoon, a full tablespoon rather, of AP flour. And the reason I do that is the AP flour thickens the batter a little bit, okay? And as it thickens the batter, that helps us to have a French toast that's going to be a little crispier as well. So you could be using a nonstick pan, or we can use the griddle. We want to give this a nice little whisk. And then one of the things I do is I don't like to soak. I don't like the people who just drop them in and then let them in there, go take a nap and come back and make their French toast. I just like to put it in once, flip it over again, all right, and then go right on the griddle. Okay, I'll do the same thing with this guy. Put it in on one side, put it in on the other side, and then right on the griddle. Okay, and by doing that, you're not going to over soak the bread. I find that if you do the whole soaking method, your bread gets too soggy. And the idea with French toast is it's kind of like a custard in a way, because you've got the egg and the milk, and you want to do these on both sides so they get nice and crispy. And I do have, if you check some other videos, I have a baked French toast where you could mix all this together and put it in the oven. And again, you could do this on a pan, or you could do it right here. But you want to, take a look at what's going on. I'm still not quite brown yet on these guys. I just like to check them. And you'll notice that, again, you could use the pan spray, or with the clarified butter. As you know, I like to use that in class because it doesn't steam up. It doesn't burn on you. You're noticing that it smokes a little bit, but it's because all the impurities that burn in things, like when you make brown butter, we've removed. Okay? So if we go back over here, let's take a look at our bananas. I'll put them on low real quick. And you can see that they look nice. I'm just holding them. I have the heat off temporarily. They've got just a little bit of mushiness on the edges. Alright, and it's hard to time these out when you're trying to do the demos. The sauce does start to thicken a touch. So you just add, just a touch of water in there. And again, bananas get a little, you want them caramelized that on the outside. Okay, but you don't want them, totally mushy on the inside. So those look great. Your sauce looks good. So I'm just going to sort of let that simmer again. And then we're going to check on our French toast. Okay, not quite yet, almost, and we'll be able to flip it over. And then what we're going to do is talk about our plating. Let me get this heated up. For our plating, what we're going to do is try to make it look a little fancy as well. So we'll do the trick where we're going to take the bread, cut it in half, and then kind of angle it. And then we'll be able to put the nice bananas on top. And we can even garnish with strawberry if you have some chantilly or whipped cream. Then you can even do a little fancy ramekin for your sauce. So let's flip this guy over. That's looking goody. You can probably flip him over again, but I know with the camera we want to start seeing things. And one thing you can see that is it does start to get a crispiness to it there, because of the flour and because of the way we're doing it. We'll be able to do it a little bit longer on the other side again. Just trying to keep things moving. So here you can see after you've cooked both sides, they get nice and brown, get a little crispiness to them. And I'm just going to transfer one right here to my cutting board. And when you cut it, the trick is, don't just cut it in half. Cut it on the biased. Okay, so it makes like 2 pointy pieces. Alright, and when you do that, again, I'm using a serrated knife. You don't have to, but that allows me to cut through. And what you can do is you can see that you can lay it on the plate like this. We can put the other one this way. And that's just a nice little trick. And then it gives you some height. And then we can even put the syrup right in there with it. And then what I like to do is we'll put some of the bananas, the caramelized bananas, right on top there. It's looking great. Put some on there. Load it up. Get some of the sauce in there. And then we'll do the same thing. It's a little trickier on the angled one, but we can get at least 2 bananas on there. And then get a little bit of the sauce. And then you can finish, if you want, with a little strawberry. You can even set that right on there. And I'll bring that up here. And there you can see how you can pull together a dish that At first, you know, it was just basic French toast, like, oh, okay. But now you add a little bit to it, and you can even play with the flavors that go in the fillings, the flavors that go in the seasoning, and then your bananas on top. Just add a little bit of sweetness to it and changes up the dish, and you have your little ramekin of syrup there. So, thanks for making breakfast with me today, and I can't wait to cook with you real soon right here in Mr. Polk's kitchen.